I am the Cubist, and it's time for episode 2. We're back. We did it. And this time we actually sort of know what we're doing. Less technical hangups is the idea. And I'm really excited because not only do we have Brandon Kemp from the What Did You Play This Week podcast thing back. Hi, Brandon. How's it going?
Hello, Bill. How are you?
I'm good. But we also have Randy Hoyt of Foxtrot Games. Hi, Randy.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today. So today we are going to talk all about Kickstarter. But first, we'll keep the same format as we always have, and we'll start talking about stuff that we've played today. So Randy, have you played anything fun, interesting, weird, maybe even terrible, but talk-worthy?
Well, one of my favorite games that I played when I first got in the hobby was Ingenious, and by Reiner Knizia.
Sure.
And it has a solo variant. When I first started gaming, I thought, who would play games by themselves? That's weird.
Yeah.
And it just kept nagging me, and I kept thinking, I need to try that. So this week I finally got it out and played the solo variant.
Nice.
Of Ingenious. So it was pretty good.
I think the only ways that I've ever played Ingenious were as the app.
Oh, okay.
I think I discovered the game as an app, so I don't know that I've ever actually played it in tabletop form. If you were to give someone like a 1-minute pitch on Ingenious, how would you describe it for those people that may not have seen it before?
Yeah, so you've got a hand of tiles. They're made up of double hexagons, and each side has a color, and there's 6 colors in the game. And you're placing your tiles out into a central board, and you're scoring points based on how many rows of connected colors sort of emanate out from the tile that you've placed. So if you place down a yellow and a purple, and there's a bunch of yellows coming out of next to your yellow one, you get some yellow points. And if you get purples next to your purple, you get purple points. The key is you're trying to get complete sets of every color. So while it's easy to score a lot of yellows on one turn, you're only going to get the points for the way they track it is you have a tracker and you score your lowest. So whichever one of the colors you have your least, that's your total score. It basically works out to then getting a complete set of all 6 colors. So while it's easy to score 2, you're trying to diversify and get all the colors.
Yeah, that's a pretty typical Knizia scoring mechanic. That's Tigris and Euphrates uses the exact same thing, except with only 4 colors.
Yeah, it's good. And there's a set board size, and so you're playing tiles and filling up the board, and you just play until you play and draw new tiles until the board fills up. Okay,
that's the solo, or is that in every game? Because I haven't played in a long time.
Yeah, and both ways. You play until you fill up the board. In the solo version, you only get 1 tile at a time instead of 6. So you're just drawing a tile, placing a tile. And then in the multiplayer game, when you get to 18, that's where the scoreboard ends. So you move your cube up to the end, and if you get to the end, you score an Ingenious, and you get to take another turn.
That's
in the solo version. In the solo version, that doesn't make sense since you're the only one taking turns, but the way they've got it is your score is actually 2 scoreboards together, and you still have you want to get right up to 18. So you can't, it's not like you have a board with 36. You have 2 boards of 18, and when you finish one board, then you can start moving to the next one. So it still has a little bit of that feel where in the multiplayer game, you don't want to score 12 purples if you only have 2 spaces left. And so it sort of simulates that by having this jointed scoreboard. I've played it a few times now, and I haven't got over 18 as my total score yet, so it hasn't really mattered, that fancy part of the scoring. But to get above 18, you're going to have to maneuver all 6 of your colors sort of up to the edge and then over. So there's still some I haven't played the app, but there's still a lot of solo plays for me to see how high I can get. I wonder what a good score is. It's clearly better than 18.
Sure. Yeah. No. I guess if they give you the scoring to go above that, then yeah. I'm not saying you suck at it, Randy. But
well, no. I mean, I got 1 all the way up to 36, but that's clearly not the point. Your score is the lowest, so.
Sure. All right. So, Randy, I don't know if you have watched or listened to the show before.
I have,
but we here at the Cubist have a rating system, the buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it system. So you've played the game a bunch of times multiplayer. You can rate it twice. Rate it once for, regular board gaming and the once for solo. What do you think?
Oh, well, the regular game, it's one of the first games I bought, and I still play it and love it. So it's definitely in the buy category for me. It is an abstract game, so if you need a theme to sort of get into it, that might be a step against it or a mark against it. But it's really approachable for an abstract game. It's not like chess where, people are spending years writing books and studying it. Like, it's pretty approachable as far as that goes once you figure out how the scoring works. And it has a nice where you still, when you get better, it feels more cutthroat. It feels more tense. You're blocking spaces. And so there is sort of that second level of it that you'd want in an approachable abstract game. So for me, it's definitely on the buy category.
Okay.
For the multiplayer version, I haven't played the solo enough. If there's an app and it's got the solo version, that may be a better fit for people. If you're not into solo gaming, I'd have to play it a few more times to figure out if it would be a buy just for the solo. But if you like games like that and you play solo games, buy it and give the solo one a try. So I would say that's definitely in the play it category. For the solo version so far.
Sure. Very cool. Well, that kind of makes me want to revisit the game. I haven't played in even the app version in years. I don't know. Matter of fact, if I had it on my Android phone before I switched to iPhone, which would have been like 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't remember, but I haven't played it in forever. It kind of makes me want to get it back out. I'm not a big abstract fan in general, but that one scratched the itch nicely. So that sounds like a lot of fun. Very cool. You good? Your headphones are doing a million things. Oh, you're talking to family. Got it. Never mind. All right. Pay no attention to Brandon. Got it. All right. So I'll jump in next. So I have recently landed a copy of Legends of Andor from Fantasy Flight Games, which is a cooperative style game. I hesitate to call it an adventure game, although it definitely pretends to. It really sort of feels like it's its own beast. Behind it is that players are playing adventurers. There's a wizard, a dwarf, a warrior, and an archer, I believe. And you basically action points, which are represented as time, bad guys, and it takes time to do tasks in the game. And the idea is that every time you go through a batch of time, like a day, there is a meter that kind of ratchets up a little bit and causes other events to go off. So these can be things like more monsters appearing or storyline events. And the game tries very hard to create stories out of each of its scenarios that you play. So like the introductory tutorial scenario is really simple, but then halfway through it kind of kicks in and suddenly there's a whole ton of monsters that are advancing upon the castle and whatever. And so it has this veneer of story, and the story is definitely like you get a feel for it, but it isn't a story game. Like at its heart, it's a very, very tight cooperative sort of crisis management game. Like it actually reminded me a lot of Pandemic in feel, not in play style. You know how Pandemic, there's a crisis right around the corner every turn, and you're just trying to figure out as a group how to best manage what is about to explode right now. Legends of Andor felt to me. Have you two played it?
I have not played that one.
It's been a couple of years, but I have played Andor. I don't think I've ever gotten past the second quest, maybe. But.
Yeah, and I think here's where my critiques of the game come in. There is a lot of stuff in that box right now. Sorry for the bad camera work here, but it's right there. And there's a lot of stuff in that box, and only about half of the stuff is necessary at any given point. Yeah. But because the scenarios are trying to not spoil things, they don't tell you which half you're going to need. So you're sort of do a ton of setup, and half the time you won't use half the stuff you set up. And I found that really annoying.
Yeah.
Like it feels like the kind of game where if I was going to make a day out of it, you know, like today is going to be Legends of Andor Day, then I would be fine with it because I'd play 3 or 4 times. But for the amount of setup and organization and teardown that's going to be required for a play of this, like it is like an Uwe Rosenberg level amount of setup.
Oh, it's
Caverna. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Yes, it is. Like the first thing I thought of after the first time I broke it open was I have never played a game that needs a custom insert more than this one, with the possible exception of Fields of Arle, because Fields of Arle is a nightmare. But it's super fiddly and setup. You really don't think it's that bad?
I don't. No. Half the fun of us setting it up is just, you know, going through everything, setting it up, getting ready to go. It doesn't bother me. I mean, Andor was kind of ahead of its time, though, with that kind of, you know, you see that a little bit now with that rule book that's going to teach you as you play, and it's that video game kind of thing.
Yes.
So, I love that.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think it's definitely, but from what I have found, and maybe it's just because I'm coming at Andor late. Maybe it's because I didn't play it when it first released and I've only recently started playing it. I've discovered that games that are ahead of their time bring great ideas to the table, but don't quite finish strong in my mind. You know what I mean? Like the games that tend to be maybe a little weak on the back end. A great example of that is Android from Fantasy Flight also, which is this big sprawling epic story game, right? But it doesn't execute real. I love the game, but I know that I'm playing a flawed game when I play it. Like I know that there are some serious problems with it. I still enjoy it, but I enjoy it despite the bad game. Yeah. I am able to enjoy it because of the stories. I feel like games that invent things. So Minion is another one in my mind that I think doesn't exactly nail it, and other deck builders have come along later and have done a better job. I know, let the hate flow into me. I know, sense it coming. It's already hitting me. So this is, by the way, viewers. Hopefully, we have the live chat working. Brandon, is the live chat?
Yep,
working?
I'm watching.
Can you see it?
Yep, I can see it.
Yay! All right, cool.
Getting
hey, there it is.
Patrick, Matt Roy. Hi.
Making sure it was actually working because I had the wrong window up. Sorry. All right, so there we go. So my opinion that Andor is a solid play it, and I will even go so far as to say that I think that you should play it as long as someone else for you. Do the setup yourself, because I think that it's no. I don't know. I like it enough, but I really am going to have to be in the right mood to do that much little fiddly work for stuff that I may not ever use. So there you go. I think it's a play it. It's a solid play it at someone else's house, and tell them to have it set up when you get there. I'm just cranky and old.
You're picky.
Yeah, I know. I'm turning into a cranky old man in my old age. I can't help it.
It happens.
Right.
Especially when
Speaking
you're
of old age. Speaking of old age, Brandon, what have you played lately?
And we'll stick with something a little bit older than, I don't know if it's older than Ingenious, but we broke out Survive, Escape from Atlantis again. It's such a classic, fun little game for your family.
Gotcha.
Sit down and lovingly play with each other and enjoy. My oldest, actually, this is her first time playing it. Our 6-year-old plays it, and it's one of her favorites to play. And we've kind of worked with her a little bit with the kid gloves.
Okay.
A little bit. And that's why Gabby won't play with her, because, well, you know, Gabby doesn't enjoy that. So we got her to sit down with us, and we played a 4-player game. So it was our first 4-player game of Survive, and it was downright mean, and it was fun. I love that game every time we play it. Somebody gets hit with a survivor comes flying across the board. Whales are flying everywhere. It just brings out the best in us.
I think I've played the base game of Survive maybe once, maybe twice. Yeah. I just played the space version of it for the first time at Geekway, actually.
Yeah. Haven't touched that one yet. We're still with just our base 4-player, no extra squids, no extra the what's the other extra things you can get? Is it a dolphin or the octopus? Maybe, I don't remember. But yeah, we just play it basic and still having a good time with that one.
That's awesome. All right, and did they not just update it? Do I remember that correctly, or am I thinking of something else?
Well,
I thought maybe a recent reprint. No, I mean recent.
Well, yeah, Stronghold did the 30th. I don't know when that was.
Got it.
But yeah, and then they updated all the expansions too. So
very cool. All right, buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it.
It's a buy it. You got to have that on your shelf if you've got a good family group that enjoys picking on each other. It's a perfect one to have on the shelf.
All right, it's one of the so this is a solid family game. Is that what I'm hearing? Like this is one
weight-wise, yeah, it's family. Don't buy it if you're not that kind of family that likes to pick on each other and likes to, hurt the other players. It's direct confrontation. It can be so.
Sure.
But yeah, if you're like us and you don't mind it too much and you enjoy seeing tears every now and then, yeah, buy it.
You enjoy seeing tears. So what you're saying is that you like to make your 6-year-old cry? Is that what I'm hearing?
It wasn't me this time.
This time. That's the takeaway here. This time.
Yeah, Corinza ate one of her people with a shark, and Annabeth was a little bit upset with it, and she kind of gets that look and everything. And then Corinza, thinking it would be funny, just kind of leaned in and said, "You tasted delicious." And that just set it all off.
Wow. Whoa.
My goodness.
We had to pause for a minute or so, and then we got back at it. So
Corinza is ruthless. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, in all the right ways. She's a lovely woman. But yeah, that's awesome.
She always tells me I got to pick my moments, but she may have missed it that time.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Anything else that you guys have had hit the table that you think is speech worthy? Because otherwise, I'll start talking about Signori. Have you guys played Signori?
I have not.
No.
Neither one of you have. Okay. Signori is from What's Your Game? And it is a quintessential Euro engine builder. It starts with like dice drafting. So there's a pool of dice. The dice are of, I think, 5 different colors. And take 4 of those dice, one of each of 4 different colors over the span of a given turn. And the color die you take is what action you can take. So each of the 5 colors has a different column on your player board. And the top space in the column is the base action for that color. So it might be gain some money, or it might be place a male meeple. You have male and female meeples in this game. You might be place a male meeple in a city, or place a female meeple in a city, or whatever. That main space, there are unlockable bonus actions that you'll get to take anytime you activate the main space in that column. And those spaces by taking that main action in other columns. So basically the idea is you can either take an action now, or you can unlock bonus actions for future actions in other colors. Is sort of how it works. And then there's a third side action that you can do that you almost never do until like the end of the game, or at least that's how it seemed for us. Dice drafting mechanic. And the kicker is that each colored action has a base cost, and the value on the die that you take determines the discount you have off of that base cost. So if you take a die with a much higher number, take the action for free or at least for a very reduced cost. The catch is, at the end of each round, you total up the values of all of the dice that you took. And if you are at or below a certain threshold, then you get another bonus at the end of the turn. So it sort of rewards you for taking low dice and therefore spending lots of money on your turn, and gives you another thing on the back end. So there's this kind of weird, take the big discount because I'm kind of broke, or do I make sure that I can reach this threshold for bonusy stuff at the end? Kind of this weird back and forth. And of course, that's where the interaction comes from in this particular game. Is there's 1 die of each color for each player. that will get rolled. So there will be 4 red dice in a 4-player game. And if only one of them is high enough to give you the correct discount that you need to be able to take before you, now you could be, you won't be completely screwed out of taking the action. It'll force you to do things in a different order, which can trigger actions differently. It's a fascinating game. And I played first time at BGG last year, actually, but I was deathly ill. Like I had caught the con crud hard about day 3.5 of BGG. And by the time I sat down in front of Signore, I was basically had about 3 coats of hand sanitizer on and was drinking coffee and caffeine at an alarming rate to try and keep myself sort of functional. And eventually that I played sort of in that sick haze. I started, so I had no idea really. I couldn't form an opinion. But now I've got my hands on a copy of it, and I played it a few times since then. And it tickles that brain that really likes Euros where theme is secondary to just efficiency. Like there's a part of me that really digs that style of gameplay. And if you like that sort of thing, Signore is your jam. I mean, it's going to be one of those games where if you love engine builders and you love able to just say, theme be damned, this is a good engine, you'll really like this one. I think it's solid. So with that in mind, I would give it a play it. You're going to need to see whether you can handle that or not, because it is very, very dry. Like, I mean, theoretically, there are coats of arms that you're trying to marry into the families of, but it's set collection. You're training people, you put meeples on these tracks to teach them to be military leaders or clerical leaders or whatever, but really it's just sort of, it's the theme is barely there, but I think it's an excellent game. So it's going to be one of the dry Euro, and you can handle the spreadsheet feel of a dry Euro. You'll probably like this one. If not, it might not be for you. So it's solid, play it. I've got a copy sitting on my shelf right now. It's good. And What's Your Game has just been knocking it out of the park. I don't think I've played anything by them that I haven't enjoyed. Like I've liked almost everything I've touched from them. Nippon was excellent. I think maybe it might be even better. It's just, they're really doing a good job.
Yep. Solid games.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Any other games you guys want to talk about?
I did just download the Ticket to Ride Pennsylvania map on the iPad Android
Nice.
version. I guess it just came out this month, I think, digitally. I hadn't played it yet in person, but I mean, I love Ticket to Ride, and whenever I think, oh yeah, that's just a good gateway game, I'll bring it out again, I remember how great it is just to play that game. So the Pennsylvania map, the big difference is you've got stocks now, and when you build a route, you get to take a share of a stock that's on the route. So each route will have little icons for which routes or for which shares they belong to. Some just have one and others have more. And whoever at the end of the game has the most shares of a particular stock will get points. There's a little scale or a little table for each of them, so some are worth more than others. And you can't tie, which I like in this version. I have like the longest road or the longest route has ties. But in this one, if you do tie, it's the first person, whoever has the first one, whoever took it first. So you're trying to balance getting the points that you normally get, finishing the routes like you normally would, and then also collect these stocks as you go. Have you guys played that one yet?
I haven't played Pennsylvania yet.
Yeah, it was nice.
Oh, go ahead.
I thought it was really nice. Normally in Ticket to Ride, you're just focused on your routes, which you still are. I mean, you still need to score routes, and you still need to connect them with the biggest trains, the biggest routes, instead of getting small routes. As far as more points, this is still the same scoring. I think I played on the app. It did the scoring for me. Maybe it wasn't the same. I think it's the same scale of points. But it just gives you a little bit extra to be thinking about when you take your routes. Now there's a little bit more at the beginning about not just doubling up where the cities are the same, but maybe which ones have the same shares of stock on them as well. So I've only played it a couple of times, so I'm not sure how deep all that extra stuff goes. And I've just played it against the AI on the app, which, I mean, Ticket to Ride, the digital app, if you haven't played, it's such a great implementation of a board game, and you can crank through a game really quickly. They handle all the, the cards, flipping them out, and you just take the cards you want really fast.
I found gotcha. The internet just freaked out there. Hi. Very good. All right, cool. No, I like Ticket to Ride digitally. I can't stand it in cardboard form. I've never liked it in cardboard form. I don't know why, but for some reason I just get irritated with the cards and trying to watch and the 3 minutes that it takes people to figure out whether they really want to build that route right now or just draw cards for 8 years. I don't know what, for some reason the cardboard version of the game just drives me bananas. But I like it. I like it digitally. As a matter of fact, I own it on Steam on my PC,
Gotcha.
and I play it on there. Enjoy it. But I think that's because the computer, I only play against the AI, and the computer just goes, and I don't have to wait and think about it. I can just click through and play the game. So,
yeah, I mean, and even if you're playing against somebody, we've done pass and play, or we've had two devices in the same room over Wi-Fi playing. The game is a lot faster. Obviously, I mean, it's just really a streamlined experience. And so I've heard a lot of people say that they can't go back to the cardboard version now that they played the digital version, which is kind of a shame. But yeah, I still love the cardboard version. I'll still play it with people. I like it with 1910 expansion.
yes,
definitely.
I agree with that. I think that 1910 is a must-have expansion for that game. I don't think I would ever want to play it without that, because the most routes thing as opposed to longest routes, I feel like the game for the better.
Yeah, and we've played the Switzerland map, which we quite like, with 2 players. I mean, I play a lot of, my wife and I play games, or my son and I play games, so we usually end up doing a lot of 2-player gaming around here.
Sure.
That is one thing against the Pennsylvania map, and I haven't played it in person, but it has for 2 players, it has a dummy player, I think, for competing for the stocks. I mean, trying to get majorities with 2 players is kind of tricky. So, can't fault them for that. But yeah, definitely played it with 3. I played it with 3 against the AI. So, I would give that one a solid play it. I don't think I'm going to buy it because of the 3-player or the dummy player at 2. Yeah. But I'm definitely going to keep playing it on the app.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I think it sounds like it's not a game that was ever intended for 2 players. And so they were like, well, what if somebody wants to do that? Oh, crap. Let's build something in. Go.
Yeah, and I mean, that doesn't work a lot of the time. I will say we play 7 Wonders a lot, and we do like the dummy player in that, but it took us a while. Like, we had to get really comfortable with how the game worked and really understand how it plays with multiplayer before the 2-player felt like a real experience. I mean, it's very weird thematically why you're getting to control this puppet state in 7 Wonders with that dummy player, but once you're really comfortable with the mechanics, I think it works really well, that dummy player. But typically I don't have much luck with those, trying to make a 3-player game into a 2-player game.
Yeah, I have. I believe Travis Hill of the Low Player Count podcast has ranted at length about how much he dislikes dummy players in games, and I'm right there with him in general. Yeah. I don't not a fan, not a fan. All right, so but play it, huh? It's good. It's just might not be for everybody because the 2-player thing.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I want to play it some more, and I probably should get out the real, I'm playing on my phone, so the routes are really small, the stock symbols are really small. I like to see what it's like in real life. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it adds just enough of a wrinkle. It's not like an 18xx game where you're really buying stocks and building railroads, but it's like just nicely enough integrated.
Yep.
Sure. Something I want to play XX now. Now I'm just looking over at my poor lonely copy of 1870 that's sitting over there that hasn't hit the table in 5 years. And thinking, very cool. Brandon, got one more?
Just real quick, I will touch on Outlawed from Green Couch Games, which is on Kickstarter right now, which will kind of lead us into our next part of the segment, I think. It's just a quick kind of 15-minute bluffing game where you're trying to become the new deputy of a town. And it's basically you're going to have a hand of cards of 10 cards, 11 cards. You slough one off, and so nobody quite knows exactly, because everybody's got the same characters in their hand. So nobody knows quite what you have. You're basically going to play a card, and you claim a card, kind of, like a Kakerlakin poker kind of thing, where you're saying this is 2 something, but instead of this, you're just playing one card, and you're claiming what it is. And everybody goes around the table, and you do that, and then you're going to flip the card over, and on the card there are apprehend if statements, and so you got to kind of follow that. So like if everybody lied, there's a character where you apprehend him if everybody was lying that round, or things, or if a certain character was played that round. So it's really just kind of a fun, quick bluffing game that really, we've played it 3 and 4 players at 10 minutes. I'll reach for it 9 times out of 10 before I reach for Kakerlakin poker anymore. And we used to play Kakerlakin poker a lot. So yeah.
This is currently on Kickstarter?
Currently on Kickstarter. Green Couch Games and designer Ryan Cowler, who did Jurassic Attack, if you know that one, little 2-player dinosaur fighting game.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I guess buy it in this case means back it on
We're going to back it. Yeah.
We're going to back it?
I put my money where my mouth is, and I did back it. So
good. I suppose it would be weird if you did a cheap plug for a game and then didn't like it.
And then exactly. Yeah. So you're going to say hi, Gabby?
Hi, Gabby.
Bill said hi.
I know, I can hear.
Oh, you can hear? Okay.
Hi, Gabby.
No. And Randy says hi as well. She's got to get to bed. She was the softball player.
Yeah, go to bed. Twerp.
You're being called a twerp.
A what?
Nothing. Anyway, I'm going to get smacked. Good night, kid.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's a solid bag.
Awesome.
$15, you can't go wrong.
Outlawed by Green Couch Games.
Yep.
Back it, apparently.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple people posting about it on Twitter, but I haven't really had time to look into things. All this chaos still in the House of Bill, so I'm still just unpacking boxes and trying to room for like people to sit on couches and things like that. I'm so far behind. Terrible.
As long as they got a place to play, that's what they need.
I'm actually hosting my first game day in the new joint tomorrow. And so much of this evening has been my girlfriend and I and her kid all kind of trying to get things situated so that way we're not embarrassed to have other human beings in the place come tomorrow because we haven't gotten that far yet. We've been here for now 19 days. So you'd think we'd be a little farther along, but whatever. All right, so that was a killer segue that I just ruined with my personal stories there, Brennan. But let's jump into our main topic. So Kickstarter. Randy has had a couple really successful Kickstarters. World's Fair is the one that I'm most personally familiar with because that's the one that I backed, and I love that game. The designer Alex Kevern, personal friend of mine, so I kind of had to back it because I didn't want him to come punch me. And then it ended up being a really great game anyway. So good on you, Alex. It's a solid game.
Nice.
So I find myself vacillating a little bit on how I feel about Kickstarter lately, and so I wanted to have you on here, somebody that has had a few under your belt, but at the same time has been a consumer for a while as well. I kind of want the publisher side and the consumer side of Kickstarter experiences here.
All right.
Campaign like you did, how much of the work was done ahead? Did you have ready to rock and roll before you put up?
Well, the big part of Kickstarter and raising money is you have to have a product that you can show people what it will look like. We're definitely long past the days on tabletop gaming on Kickstarter where you can show that you have an idea. You need to have the gameplay completely done, all locked down, and as much of the art as you can. I mean, you'll hear a lot of people say you need to have the game ready to print, but there's a lot of money that you would spend getting production files ready that you may or may not, be ready to spend if you don't raise the money. So sure. I wouldn't say that you need to be able to hit print the day you hit your funding goal, but you need to be able to communicate what the product is going to look like to people, what they're going to be getting to get the feel. Artwork does sell really well on Kickstarter. That's one of the big things that draws people in. So in our campaigns, we've had almost all of the artwork done, a lot of the graphic design work. We've had the rule book written and edited by an editor, but not laid out, and our rules not with examples not made. I'll make the examples, like I'll set up the board and take a picture and just drop it in a Word doc before that. So when we send out review copies, some of the artwork will be final and some of it will be still prototype. There could be some graphic design things, and trying to get the text of the rules done ahead of time, but leaving a lot of that graphic design and artwork in the rule book still to go. I think all that's perfectly valid and reasonable. If you have a bigger following, you can go ahead and spend more of that money up front if you're more confident that you're going to fund. We had spent a lot of money on World's Fair before it funded because we'd had a successful campaign before and felt confident going into the campaign that our marketing efforts were going to help the game fund, and it did. But with Lanterns, that was our campaign before. We had done less work up front. There was still a lot more to do. All our review copies for Lanterns had all prototype art except for the tiles. We wanted to make sure that the tiles would be playable, that you could put them out on the board and see the colors and understand what was going on. But the cards and the scoring tokens and the favor tokens and all of that, we were confident it would play fine. And so I think we did tiddlywinks for our review copies for those instead of favor tokens. Because we had a smaller following at that point, so we weren't as confident that we were going to be able to fund and hit the goal. So it needs to look like you're done or mostly done, so that people get a good sense of what they're getting, but doesn't need to be able to hit print right when you're done.
Sure.
I think we're getting a bit of delay here.
I'm sorry, I was just laughing because that in my head sort of translated to, you need to be able to tell people that it's done even when it's totally not. I know that's not exactly what you meant, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not about making it look like it's done when it's not, but it's about having enough done that people can get a feel for what it's going to be like. And if you haven't created all the rule book examples yet, they can still get a sense of what the final product's going to look like on their table and to know if it's the kind of thing that they're going to be interested in.
Yep, I gotcha. You still there? Ooh, I had a weird echo for a second. All right, I'm better now. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that it's a very daunting proposition, at least it looks like from the outside, for somebody that is strictly a consumer that has never done a Kickstarter before. Because in my head, I would think that art and graphic design would want to be one of the bigger financial costs that would go into it. And knowing that you basically sort of have to have that figured out up front, realistically have a Kickstarter go off, it would intimidate the hell out of me.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money to get ready for Kickstarter. I've talked to a lot of people and they're like, I need a Kickstarter for my Kickstarter campaign. And it's true. in a way. You do need to come into it with some money. Our first campaign, what was that, 3.5 years ago now, the bar was a little lower. Campaign pages didn't look quite so snazzy. You didn't get to see as much artwork or graphic design done back then. And still, we spent a lot of money. Getting started, the first project we had, some friends who helped out who said, if you don't fund, I'll just help you out. We'll do it for free. And then when you fund, you can pay me. So that really helped get over some of that financial hurdles. But we still spent a good chunk of money and a lot of sweat equity trying to get all of that ready to go. And our campaigns we spent more and more money each time getting them ready, doing more of the artwork. It's not all marketing money. I try really hard to spend the money on things that are going to be in the final game instead of trying to spend it on marketing that won't make it into the product. The Kickstarter video is one that we don't really use after the campaign. That's pretty much just focused on marketing, but all the artwork and graphic design, trying to focus that money to get the biggest bang for the buck going into the campaign so that you can get enough money to finish what you need to finish.
Gotcha. Are there any hard lessons that you've learned? I mean, all three of your Kickstarters have been successful the first time through, right? Like you didn't have to stop and relaunch any of them. So clearly you didn't have any catastrophic failures. But are there any lessons that you feel like you kind of learned the hard way that you didn't, especially for people that are thinking about running a Kickstarter, that maybe they wouldn't know up front?
Oh, there's lots of lessons to be learned. The first campaign, I'll be honest, we ended up losing money on it, even though it was a successful campaign.
Jungle Expedition?
For Relic Expedition.
Relic Expedition, sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you don't know to ask. There's a lot of mistakes you can make. Relic Expedition was a pretty big game, probably too big for a company to do first. Lots of custom wood pieces, tons of punch board. Custom dice, like just lots of things that, now everyone is pretty knowledgeable that you should try to avoid something that crazy on your first project, which is fair. But we made a few mistakes. Some stuff had to be reprinted because we printed stuff wrong. We had a couple of punch boards that needed to be reprinted. Shipping is a killer, and we had tried to do EU-friendly shipping. And we had talked to people in the industry about what to expect and how to plan for that and component of that. So the shipping from China to Europe it was way more than I expected. And part of that is because we had a small volume of data around freight from China to the US, but that's, with 1,500 copies. I had to send, I think, 80 to Europe, and it was about $20 a copy to get them to Europe, and 20 of them were damaged.
Oh no!
Way there, so so that was kind of painful.
Yeah,
and compound that, we had stretch goals that we had costed out well and had figured out shipping for the US, and that all went really well, but we had to ship it. We had to ship like small boxes of those stretch goals and extra stuff to Europe, again, compounding that problem. I went to FedEx with my box. They told me how much it was going to cost to ship my little promo items. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not making any money on these now. So the shipping thing is a lot. I mean, trying to coordinate your worldwide logistics if you're a small company doing, we did about 150% of our goal, but a lot of it was about 20% was international backers, and so that we ended up, I think, just barely breaking even on them.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And the weight of, even for the U.S. shipments, were more than we had planned because you don't know how much the box is going to weigh. I mean, that's one of those things you don't really think about, that the size of the box because you're designing the files, but you haven't really, you don't have a copy to weigh when you before your Kickstarter campaign.
Sure.
So that's something I've gotten better about. I'll find a game with a similar size box. For both the Lanterns and World's Fair, I found games with similar size boxes and got the same sheets of punch board and the same size cards, the same quantity, and put them up, taken them to the post office and got them weighed to have a much better idea of what the weight of the product would be when we were all done.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's really smart. I wouldn't have even thought of that either. So.
And when you're small, like a lot of these things just get cheaper at volume and they get easier to do at scale. And if you price your campaign as if you're only going to have 100 backers, well, then the price is really high and you're not going to be able to get even 100 backers. But if you price it assuming you're going to have 5,000 or 500 to 1,000 backers, all the scale, everything's then a little more manageable, a little cheaper at those different scales. Some of that is, it's just a lot of spreadsheeting or algebra type math, like, oh, if I put my goal here, how will that affect? And if you're going to blow past your goal, then it doesn't matter if your goal is 10,000 or 12,000 or 15,000. But if you're going to be in, especially a lot of first timers are in that range where they're going to, if they hit it, it'll be barely. And you have no margin for error for any of those things when you're at that small of a scale.
Yeah.
So it's finding that balancing point between a realistic goal and making sure that your costs are that you're covering your own butt, basically, so that you don't take it in shorts, and keeping things lean enough that you can get the backers in the first place. Because if you go too high and you say, well, I need $50 for a copy of World's Fair, or whatever it is, then you might scare people away. But if you can find that, it's finding that tipping point.
Yes. Yeah, and it can be tough at first. Most of the people I talk to who've never run a campaign before want to just give themselves lots of cushion, and they end up needing 1,000 backers to even hit their goal, and then they can't get that because they've added so much cushion that now it looks like they don't know what they're doing, or it's too hard to achieve for a first-time creator.
Yeah. See, this just intimidates me even more. Now I just know. See, this is how I know that I do not have the temperament to be a publisher, and that's why I admire. I really do, because I've been. It's the sort of thing where it seems like it'd be such a great idea, right up until I actually apply some thought to it and realize that beyond my ken, or at least beyond my patience level. Like, I'm sure you can learn to do this stuff. Obviously, you weren't. You didn't come out of high school knowing how to run successful Kickstarters. Nobody did. But you have to be able to endure that trial by fire, which I feel like everybody has with their first Kickstarter. I feel like I haven't talked to a single person whose initial Kickstarter was a breeze. And we've talked to a number of people and on all the other podcasts who, it feels like everybody's got those stories of, oh my God, I can't believe we did this wrong and did that wrong, whatever. and I guess this is one of those things where anyone perfect must be lying. The few times you hear somebody that describes how amazing it was, you're like, yeah, you're not telling us what's going on here. There's issues at play. So I want to, all right, compose. Here we go. So when you advertised for your second, so the order of the Kickstarters was Relic Expedition, then Lanterns, then World's Fair.
Right, that's right.
So Lanterns, which I think was probably the biggest hit out of the three, right? Lanterns has been sort of your award winner, has it not? That's sort of the one that's the big landmark. World's Fair is excellent, but it's also the newest.
Yeah. Lanterns is the one we sold the most copies of after Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So far.
And it's still a very widely regarded game that everybody is still kind of talking about, which is always a good sign this far after it's released. So
yeah, absolutely.
What did you approach marketing for Lanterns? And the reason I say that, and I'm just going to express a personal opinion to start, and then you'll get an idea of why I'm asking this question.
Okay.
I get a Kickstarter update from a publisher that I kickstarted something a year and a half ago, and they're telling me, we think you'd really like this game, which has absolutely nothing to do with. I get a little more annoyed, and I get a little bit saltier, because I don't want you to notify. I know that your game exists. I'm here. I'm paying attention most of the time. It feels like feels like, I have this thing that I can, I can access people with, and I can't opt out. It's not like I can say, stop giving the updates on this Kickstarter. So there's no way for me to turn it off. It's just this annoying thing that keeps hovering in the background. As I admitted before, I am definitely turning into the cranky old man, right? Like, I mean, I've earned this, this is here for a reason. So I'm aware that I'm probably an outlier here. How did advertising go like that for Lanterns, or did you do more traditional advertising, or how did it play?
I think I did send a message to my Relic Expedition backers about Lanterns.
Okay.
The reason I did is that at the end of the Relic Expedition campaign, in the surveys, I had meant to ask in the survey if I could sign you up for my newsletter.
Gotcha.
To give people a chance to opt in or not. Mm-hmm. And I forgot to do that with Relic Expedition.
Okay.
I gave people in the updates, sign up here, but after I'd done the survey and forgot to include it, there was no chance of that going back. So I did. Sure. I did post to my Relic Expedition campaign about the Lanterns campaign, I believe. Okay. But I didn't want to do that. I feel the same way you feel. I would much rather get people to opt into something.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of people who did sign up from the newsletter for Relic Expedition because it wasn't in the survey. It wasn't easy to do. You had to click a link, fill in your email address again. So I did that, but I swore that I would always ask in the survey if people wanted to sign up or not, and that I would never do that again.
Okay, cool. Well, for the record, we still love you, Randy, and I did not mean that as a shame on you. No. Although I know that there's a little bit of that in there, but yeah, it's I don't know why that bothers me so much. It's one notification. Yeah. Right? Like, it's not the end of the world. Why do I care? But I care because it's one of many. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not just one thing. It's I somehow I feel like I always end up on mailing lists that I don't realize I'm on, delivering me content that I don't particularly want. And it's such a common experience for me now that it's like the death of a thousand cuts. I'm way over exaggerating how much I hate it. It doesn't upset me that much. But you see what I mean, though? It's just
No, and I feel the same way. So I mean, that's the only time that I've done that. Was pushing up to an unrelated list, even though it's people who have backed what we were doing, who believed in our mission enough to back one game. So, but yeah, so I have a newsletter that I try to get people on campaign maybe 3 months before, showing pictures, interacting with the community there. There's such a great backer community on Twitter, people that follow tabletop stuff, and so got involved there and got a lot of people there, met reviewers there. I really push hard on getting review copies out to people. I think we sent out 20 review copies of Lanterns. It was pretty affordable to do. It was very small, fit in a small flat rate box.
Sure.
It's just 4 sheets of tiles and some cards, and it was really affordable to send out those copies. So we got a bunch of reviewers to look at it. And Gen Con was a big event for us with Lanterns. So in August, before the campaign, which was in October, we had a lot of events running in the First Exposure Playtest Hall and then out in the open gaming area at Gen Con. So we got a lot of people to play the game there. And we did if you played it and signed up for our mailing list there, you'd be entered into a drawing to win a prototype of Lanterns or a copy of Relic Expedition.
Very cool.
So we got a pretty decent sized list there, so that when we did launch Lanterns, we advertised on BGG during the Lanterns campaign, but then a lot of interviews and review copies. It was a lot of organic type coverage like that to get the word out about the game.
I don't know about you, but I feel like that sort of organic buzz is worth so much more than ads or things. I don't know. I tend to. We all have people that we just innately trust the opinions of, right? Like we all have those go-to people that we know, if they like this, I will like this. And so I am much more inclined if I hear one of those people talking about a game to go, oh, like here's a great example. Lance Meister, Undead Viking. I was on his weekly Alaboom show, and he and I have pretty similar tastes in games for the most part. And so we were talking about the Seventh Continent. When that went on Kickstarter, and he looked at me and he said, "Bill, just shut up and go back it. You're gonna like this. Like this is a no-brainer." Yeah. And I'm still waiting. I cannot wait, and that game needs to just be here. I've been I can't believe how bad I'm jonesing for that stupid box, but I want that one to just be here because I'm really looking forward to my girlfriend and I, and that being sort of our go-to campaign kind of experience, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you have those people that give you those experiences with buzz generation, it just feels so much more valuable to me. So I think that's super smart. Just get people playing the game. All you got to do is, if the game is good, the game will do its own talking. Just put it in front of people and let them do the talking. I love that.
Yeah, it's harder and harder to get people to look at your Kickstarter campaign beforehand, and especially for first-timers. Once we had a successful project that was in retail, it had funded and was in retail, it was much easier to get people interested in Lantern. So just even take a second look at it and see if it would be something they'd be interested in. That is something that's getting harder and harder for first-time creators these days.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like I said, I was only half joking when I said I was completely intimidated by the idea of Kickstarter and publishing in general, because there is so much. These podcasts comes out where we talk about publishing, and we talk about Kickstarter, and this has been done to death. And I'm believe me, I'm painfully aware of that, dear viewer. When you watch this, I know that we are treading over well-traveled ground here, but all of these things, I think it's a fascinating topic. But on the other hand, I also worry that we're going to discourage new voices in this sphere, right? And I don't want to do that either, because we need the way that our niche little industry is expanding is by more voices joining the conversation. And if we discourage people, it's just going to get more and more. It will get stagnant, and that's the one thing that we definitely don't want. And that's why I love people like you and like Jamie Stegmeyer, who was on the Cubist back in its audio only format back in the day. You're willing to come on here and share your experiences. And the fact is that no matter how many challenges you've endured, you're still here, right? Like you're still doing this and you're still doing a great job. And the games that you come out with are excellent. The only one I haven't played is Relic Expedition. But they have the coolest meeples ever. Yes. I want that game just for those meeples. Those things are amazing. That's probably part of why you went broke trying to do it, though, hey?
Yeah, partly, but that's okay.
I can't imagine those things were cheap.
Those monkeys were annoying in that game.
Yes, but I love having them around. I have a copy of them made really big from a friend, so I have a full set of gigantic meeples. Let me grab those. Hold on, is this professional enough?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you know what? Rich Summer has been known to point at things on audio-only podcasts and walk away from the microphone to grab boxes. So if he can do that, you're fine.
So,
that is fantastic.
It's the boar, and here's the blue meeple. I got a whole set of them over there. But.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Someday we're going to figure out a way to get more big meeples made and raffle them off here. Set me up, Randy. No. Randy, that's awesome. So Randy, we've focused on a lot of the weird stuff that's happened, and a lot of, and like I said, we've been talking about all the horror stories, and everybody seems to. What if you wanted to encourage, let's say Brandon, because it's not going to be me. Let's say Brandon Kemp over there decides that he wants to the "What will you play this week" board game thing.
Ooh, that's a good.
All right,
there you go.
There you go. And this is his new company. And he's got a solid game, and he wants to what if you had to give him like a 1-minute pep talk / advice session? What would you tell him? Don't.
Well, I would say that making entertainment products for strangers has its ups and downs. There are moments of sheer joy when you get an email from somebody that says, "Oh, my daughter, this is her favorite game. She plays it every night. She's in there making up a solo variant for it because she loves to play it so much." And then you'll have the low days where someone posts on BGG, rates it a 1.1, and they said, "This isn't even a game." Like, you'll get both of those extremes, up and down, back and forth all the time. And there are a lot of headaches. There's a lot of setbacks. There's a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. But, man, there's just nothing quite like bringing more fun into the world and getting people to sit around a table and interact with their friends, interact with their families, or interact with complete strangers over a product that you made. Teaching the game to people. Just this weekend, the Dallas Museum of Art had a World's Fair themed exhibit, a late night, and we contacted them. We went and we demoed the game for 3 hours, taught about 15 to 20 people who were at a museum to see art, sat down and played the game with us.
That's awesome.
It's just so much fun to share the joy of gaming with people. So it's definitely, I clearly think it's worth all the headaches of the, dealing with freight companies or dealing with manufacturers or dealing with all the ins and outs that there are to deal with. And yeah, you'll have some bad days, and that's okay. Creating things for other people, especially luxury or entertainment products, can be really hard on your soul. If you'll get a thick skin quickly, or you'll get out.
You'll get out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, Bill, you designed the game. He's talked me into it.
You know what? There are 10. I'm just throwing that out there. 10.
Insert footnote.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on. It's on. All right. I just realized something, that I failed to pimp our giveaway that we promised last week. We did not hit our live viewer goal, which was very ambitious, but that's okay because I wanted to do a giveaway next week too. So, but this week we do have Isla Bonita and Highbone, which are both expansions for Bonanza. Now, these are the original Amigo printings of these expansions from forever ago, in German, the whole shebang here. And I want to give these away to one of our live viewers today. So, Randy and Brandon, you are live viewing, but you are not eligible. I'm sorry.
I was getting ready to tweet.
I know. So, the hashtag for this is on Twitter. Make sure that I can see the hashtag bananas for Bonanza. And I'm going to make you remember how to spell Bonanza, Bohnanza. So if you hashtag bananas for Bonanza, can you see that? There's Bonanza spelled down there. All right. Put that hashtag in, or send an email real quick to thecubistpodcast@gmail.com and put bananas for Bonanza in the subject line. And I will pick a random viewer and get this stuff sent out to you. And hopefully it's not somebody from Canada this time. Canadians, stop winning content. No, I'm kidding. I love that. And luckily, Todd, who won last week, is going to be visiting Wisconsin soon, so I will be able to deliver him his game, so I don't have to ship it to Canada. So there you go. Bananas for Bonanza. Get it out there, and we will pick a winner in just a couple minutes. But first, before we pick a winner, Randy Hoyt, you have watched this show or listened to the show before, so you probably have a vague idea what's coming, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Time for rapid fire.
Yes.
So this is the part where you've been sounding super smart for the last hour, and now we're going to mess with that, and we're going to ask you 5 questions. The idea is to answer them as possible and not to stall and just give little mini speeches like a certain "What Did You Play This Week" podcast thing host did last week for flipping.
I didn't stall.
You totally stalled. It's on YouTube. Go look.
Those were legit.
I will warn you.
Yeah.
I I do have AP really bad. We have an AP
Oh, no.
multiplier of 2 or 3 times the box time on most games at our house. So,
Oh Lord, that's you. So remember,
luckily, I both have the same AP multiplier, so it works out okay.
oh, I know, but you wanted to play a game at BGG, didn't you? Oh man.
It'll
All
have to
right,
be
that's
something
fine.
with fast turns. Fast turns.
We'll play Time's Up. It'll be great.
Okay, there we go.
All right, Randy Hoyt, are you ready?
As ready as I can be.
All right, here we go. Randy, your favorite game for 3 players?
7 Wonders.
Very good. A game designer you would like to publish a game from?
Matt Leacock.
Very good. A board game themed movie you'd like to see get successfully kickstarted?
A board game themed movie?
Yes.
So not Agricola.
I don't know. Something that isn't Agricola, is that your answer?
Yeah, something besides Agricola. How about that?
Anything that is not Agricola. Got it. All right.
Anything.
A game you would pull out to play with your parents?
World's Fair 1893.
Oh, nice. Cheap plug. And what color do you play?
Red.
Good, sir. Well done. See, you completed that entire thing in about half the time Brandon did. And
Well, one was a cheap plug and one was not really an answer. So that helped.
I was kind of thinking Agricola, be a nice drama, time kind of period piece.
where one of the 2 people goes off and quietly has a baby alone in town.
Exactly. It just also
While
shows
the
up.
other one is still.
And then, like, the week later, they put it to work.
A week later. And he's really struggling with his career. He's like, I don't know what my occupation should be.
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
This has Oscar written all over it.
I feel like we need to just do this. Like, I feel like this is the thing that needs to exist in the world now. Now I'm ready.
Excellent.
All right. Well, because I'm a doofus and it took me so long to mention the hashtag, we'll let it ride for a little bit. So we will pull a winner, and I will contact that winner a little bit later because right now we've only got 2 people that have used the hashtag. The hashtag is Bananas for Bonanza. If you want to win yourself a copy of La Isla Bonita and Highbone, 2 excellent expansions, Bonanza. See, Bonanza would have been a great answer for your board.
Yeah, that's true. Bonanza. That would have been good.
Because nothing says movie magic like bean farming.
No, that's like a stock market bean farming action movie waiting to happen.
Sure.
Now I'm really trying to think what movie would be good. Now that I gave an answer and we've moved on from the rapid fireness, what would be a good one? King of Tokyo, maybe?
King of Tokyo.
There are movies with that theme for sure. So maybe that's a cheap answer too.
Robinson Crusoe is probably a cheap answer.
Yeah.
Android.
Oh yeah.
Would make an excellent movie.
There was that. What was that movie with Sandra Bullock?
The Net.
The Net.
We don't speak of that.
That's kind of like that theme, isn't it?
No.
No. Okay.
Blade Runner is that theme.
Blade Runner. Okay.
Yeah,
Blade Runner is what you want that theme to be.
Yeah.
I like. Are you not a fan of the Android universe?
No, not really. But that's me.
Game is so good. Oh, sad. Randy, thank you so much for joining us. If people wanted to find out more about you and Foxtrot Games, where would they go?
Probably the website has our games, foxtrotgames.com. And we have Foxtrot Games on Facebook and Twitter for official company announcements. Personally, my account is at Randy Hoyt on Twitter. I tweet about board games, but I try to tweet about other things too sometimes.
Very good. Very good. All right. For those of you that have made it all the way to the end of the podcast, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. You spread the word. It gets bigger and badder every week. Brandon, do you have anything you want to do a cheap plug on?
No. They can just listen to me ramble on the What Did You Play This Week podcast thing and talk a little bit too much on Twitter. At WDYPTW or at VacaBCK. Whatever you want to follow. And Randy,
sure,
you can send me an update anytime on Kickstarter.
Well, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, you guys have been fantastic. Once again, Bananas for Bonanza is your hashtag or your email. I will pick a winner a little bit later, and we'll do a special pickup episode where we draw a winner, and we'll get that out to you guys. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next week. Take care.
Take care.
Adios.